Traveling to Egypt is a trip that I will not soon forget. From seeing all those wonderful ancient ruins, to the beautiful scenery, to the wonderful people, the not so wonderful people, and everything in between. I want to show you everything that I experienced in Egypt, and you are not going to believe what happened to me in Cairo. We had an okay plane ride. We went from Toronto to Frankfurt, Germany, which was about 9 hours, and from Frankfurt straight to Cairo, which was another 3 to 4 hour flight. Like I said, the flight was pleasant because we had one of those lovely first class pods, which made that flight the best that I've ever been on.
Welcome.
Tell you, she's stuck in my
How are you? How are you?
Kill me.
How are you?
Good.
Good to see you. Good to see you. And
Oh
go, go,
my
go.
goodness.
Okay.
I'm
they're
glad
here,
to be
folks.
here.
They're here. They've arrived.
Hello.
Yes, yes, yes.
The harassment from the taxi drivers just as we cleared customs was relentless, but we finally got on the road on our way to our accommodation. We were staying just outside of Cairo, so it was a nice drive to where we were staying. So we finally arrived to this beautiful, beautiful house outside of Cairo. This place was immaculate. Immediately, I started admiring all the beautiful plants in the yard, the trees, the beautiful pool. It was just spectacular. I loved this accommodation. The gardener in me just loved the plantings and the trees. So let's start off at this tomb of Hatshepsut. I affectionately nicknamed her Hot Chicken Soup. But this was a female pharaoh that ruled mightily, I might add, for 22 years. And this was a monument that they built for her. This is her shrine where her mummy was kept. Just beautiful. Now make note of the little gentleman sitting right there. We'll talk more about that later. But just take in these statues. They were so majestic. Beautiful. And let me tell you guys, this was very early in the morning, maybe about 8 o'clock, 7 o'clock, and it was hot. This here is the inside of one of the tombs in the Valley of the Kings. A lot of the paintings on there, on the walls and the ceiling, are starting to fade, so they don't like you to take flash photography, but we were able to videotape. There we see those little gentlemen again. Now, throughout my trip, you're going to notice that my head is usually wrapped in a scarf, and that's just merely to keep the sun off. I advise you to either bring a hat or to buy these beautiful scarves, because if you're anything like me and you're prone to sunstroke, you definitely need some protection from the sun. Don't forget to hit that thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't subscribed already. So I'm Lo of Nino and Lo. If you don't know me, nice to meet you. Glad to have you here. And my travel buddy for this trip is my daughter, Jessica. Now, Jessica, who is a gymnast through and through, has decided to do a cartwheel in the middle of this ancient place. And there was a bunch of school kids in the background, and they all came running once they saw that she was doing a handstand. They were great kids. I think they were on a school trip or something. And Jessica just loves kids. She's like a magnet for these kids. Now, here we're at a marketplace. I believe this is in a Nubian village that we visited. Some of the vendors in the marketplace can be a little bit aggressive, but they're actually very nice. They're just trying to sell their wares, which are very beautiful, I might add. But you have to stand firm, and if you're not interested, you just have to say, no, thank you. Now, these gentlemen are definitely artisans. They were carving into some, I believe it's limestone or soapstone, and the carvings that they were doing were simply amazing. And they were doing it in the hot sun. And here you see some of the artwork that they painted. Just beautiful.
Just wait like this. Faster. 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 Thank you. By the way, this is Egyptian rumble. It's our rumble. Okay? So after we finish Mr. Rumble, we start filing and polishing the vase from outside by different sides. And then we use the pieces of sandstone, the sandpaper to make it very smooth. And the sandstone, that's something we call it in English like what? Like pumice stone, yeah? Yeah. Pumice, yeah? Pumice.
So this is the Valley of the Queens on the West Bank in Luxor, where all of the great queens are entombed. Now, if you notice, it doesn't look like much of anything from the outside. It's really discreet inside the side of a mountain amidst all the rock and rubble.
Hot. I need some water.
Now make sure you pack plenty of sunscreen because that sun hits different.
It's hot in the Valley of the Queens. Wow.
Try to focus on the person standing in between the two statues here so that you can get an idea of how massive those statues really are.
mosque. We are visiting somewhere called Karnak Temple. See how far down the pylons go? This is Karnak Temple.
It's so humbling standing by these structures. You just feel like, how could these people have made these things? How did they do it? These statues are made of stone and they are humongous. You feel dwarfed amidst all these ancient ruins. It's an awesome feeling and it's very hard to describe. And so much detail on these statues. And here we have Ramses with Nefertiti. Most of us have heard of Nefertiti. But this statue, it goes higher than the palm tree behind it. It's that huge. Now, everywhere on these structures, the details in the hieroglyphics are they're just amazing. And these hieroglyphics actually tell the stories of the people, the Egyptians that built these structures. So much detail. Now, we had a tour guide that was taking us through all these places, and he's actually an Egyptologist. He's gone to school to study how to read hieroglyphics and to study all these ancient ruins. This is a famous obelisk. This is a solid piece of rock that shoots up way up into the sky. But yeah, our guide's name was Robert. He was fantastic. He knew all these stories of all the hieroglyphics and he could translate, he can read the hieroglyphics. This was a beautiful pool that was like an oasis in the middle of the desert. And here we have the famous scarab, which is the Egyptian beetle. And a lot of the tourists that are on the tour, it said if you circle the scarab, that will bring you luck. If you circle it 3 times, that brings you luck for money. I think it's 9 times you will become fertile and have a baby in the following year or something like that. It's all good fun.
The call for prayer. You hear it? It's coming from the tower up there, all over the city. We are in Karnak Temple.
if you notice, this statue's facial features are fully intact. His nose is intact, all his features are intact. I guess this is what Beyonce meant when in Black Effect when she said, "I will never let you shoot the nose off my pharaoh," because a lot of these great statues, the face is gone off the statues. And now, our tour guide Robert was pointing out some very interesting hieroglyphics that were in this area here. It was depicting Nubians lined up going to battle to help the Egyptians. These were black people. This is evidence that black people helped to build these structures of this time, the Nubians. On the walls of these structures. The hieroglyphics are telling stories about everyday Egyptian life, about how they farmed, what they used for medicines. It has pictures of their tools. Just fascinating how they left such a detailed record of everything and every aspect of life at that time. sun was brutal this day, and if you notice, my scarf game was popping. I just needed a little bit more coverage on this day because my arms were burning. Once again, guys, make sure you bring your sunscreen. Now, these men are everywhere. They're scattered at every single ruin, every monument, every attraction, and generally they're pretty respectful to tourists. I affectionately name them the bakshish men. Now, bakshish is a word in Arabic that means tip, to give goodwill, to give a small gift for work that's been rendered. But some of the bakshish men, they're very aggressive, so you have to be careful because they can be very forceful. They'll offer to take a picture with you, or they'll stand in your picture when you're taking it, and then they'll be a little bit forceful to demand a tip. Most of them are pretty good, and they're very thankful for whatever you want to give them, and they can be a bit helpful, but sometimes it gets a little overwhelming. Now, bakshish is a little bit of an art. It's the form of giving a tip for work that is rendered, where you're showing respect and gratitude to maybe a waiter, somebody that's cleaning your hotel room, a taxi driver, a store clerk, something like that. But sometimes the art of bakshish can become a little bit forceful, that it almost turns into a bit of a bribe, so to speak. But for the most part, people are very grateful for whatever you tip them, and they're just very respectful. So here we are relaxing on our riverboat cruise as we go down the Nile. It was so peaceful. Now this is how we accessed all the great ruins. Like I said, we took a small domestic flight and we landed in Aswan, where we met up with our tour group and we boarded this cruise. It's a little riverboat cruise, and it took us down the Nile and accessed all these different temples and the Valley of the Kings, the Valley of the Queens, the Valley of the Nobles. The best way to be able to see and tour the ruins. here's our tour guide, Robert. Well, he's more than a tour guide, he's an Egyptologist. He was great. I'll put his information in the description below for anybody that might be interested in accessing him if you ever take a trip.
These ones are like very detailed.
One of my favorite places is Khan El Khalili, which is a bazaar or a souk smack dab in the middle of Cairo. And it's one of the biggest bazaars in Cairo, and I believe one of the oldest, but it is beautiful. There's so many little nooks and crannies, and it's huge. And the people here expect you to barter. You're expected to barter, to negotiate on a price, and it's good fun. It really is. And the dollar, their Egyptian pound, our dollar is worth a lot more than their Egyptian pound. So your money goes far. So they encourage you to barter, but you can find so many beautiful things in this bazaar. Khan El Khalili, and I'm very proud of the way that I've learned to pronounce it. So when you're in this market, you're expected to be respectful of their culture in the way that you dress, like no booty shorts or anything like that. And I always had either a sweater or a shirt with me that I can just throw them on just in case. Pyramids of Giza are probably the most recognized monument that's associated with Egypt, in my opinion. Now, these pyramids are royal tombs that were built for 3 different pharaohs. Now, I know that the one that was built for the pharaoh they called Khufu was the largest one, but these structures, they just tower over you. You can't imagine how enormous these things are. Pictures don't do it justice. Now, as a tourist, you can actually go inside the pyramids. They have all sorts of different little channels, and you go up these narrow corridors, but it was too much for me. I was getting a little claustrophobic. I couldn't do it, but it's an adventure to say the least. Now, the good thing about this place as well, you can go on camel rides. There's tons of camels, and if you're not as adventurous as Jessica, you can always just go in the little chariot like I did, and they give you a little ride around the area, the perimeter of the pyramids.
Lorna and Jessica at the pyramids. Here it is.
Our gracious hosts, Magna and Sharif, I love them.
Sally, Lorna. Lorna. This is the video. Here we are in Egypt. Look at Sally and Lorna in their little chariot ride. Queens doing their chariot thing, while us peasants are on camels.
My foot fell out.
This how, oh, did it?
Yeah.
This is how we do here. We're good, we're good. This is Jessica and I doing our camel thing.
So this is Sally, my sister-in-law, and Magna and Sharif's daughter. So she was able to show us around along with her husband, Justin. And they made the trip so much more enjoyable.
Look at the See down below.
And here's her husband, my brother-in-law, Justin, and the photographer extraordinaire with their little boy, Malachi.
Look at the rock side. How did they get those up there like that?
They also have horses, so you can pay for a horseback ride on the grounds. Don't forget to give me a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button if you haven't already done so. If while you're out by the pyramids and you are approached by someone that looks like this, beware. This could be a scam artist. There are many of them out there. They work in groups. They're very forceful, trying to get tourists to buy things, and they chat you up. You know what the deal is. You just have to be very diligent. Just say no thank you, do not engage, and keep it moving.
Listen, y'all are getting into my mojo, eh? Y'all need to stop. Jessica, how was it? Jessica.
Oh, it was good. It was good.
Now we come to the Great Sphinx of Giza. Now this Sphinx has the head of a man and the body of a lion. He's made of solid limestone, and he is there to guard the pyramid of Khafre. Now this is the other great story about the Sphinx, is that it's missing its nose, and it is said that Napoleon Bonaparte blasted the nose off of the Sphinx in order to erase the history of the Egyptians, but that's been refuted, and there's been a lot of different conspiracy theories over the generations of what happened to the face of the Sphinx. Believe what you want, but it is a great, majestic monument, and I'm glad I got to see it in my lifetime. I believe it's one of the biggest statues in the world.
Look at how they crossed the road.
Without using your hand.
in the middle of highway traffic. That man just crossed the road to get to a temple.
Church.
Church.
Now, in the Zabaleen, there are bags and bags of garbage everywhere. These people that live in this settlement, they go and collect the household waste. They bring it back to the Zabaleen, they sort it and they process it, and that's how they make their living. And this is at the base of Mokatam Hill, and that's the way that you have to drive to get to the beautiful church that's at the top of this hill. But in order to get there, you have to go through the Zabaleen, or the garbage city.
Christian church carved into the rock, and they did that. A lot of the rock that they had to use explosives to blow up so that they can carve into it, they used the explosive while the Muslim community was sending out the call to prayer so that they wouldn't hear the explosive. Isn't that cool?
Fascinating. Look at all the carvings, look at the detail. And here's someone actually doing the. That's crazy. He's at least 100 feet off the ground right now. I'm not even sure what's holding him. I believe those supposed to be the 10 commandments. Justin, it's okay. It's me. No? Bishoy. Nice to meet you.
We walked down that ramp. It's hard to see because of the light. And then when we come in the bottom, we're inside the mountain. Look at that. Look at that. It's carved right out of the rock. That's the altar. This is where they hold church service. In this church, like I said, that's carved into the side of a rock. Look at the pews made out of stone and wood. That is amazing. Amazing. People come here. People come to this place. It's supposed to be sacred.
We will open this in the morning.
And people come here for
Goods
healing.
for the priests and deacons. Outside here, deacons, and the other side deacons, but outside all the people. Then
Jessica's up there. Way up there.
100 people, but this is the church. The Church of Virgin Mary, 20,000 seats and 100 people. These are the bones of Saint. This is the hospital. 14 levels.
We decided to be adventurous and book an ATV quad bike tour at the pyramids. We're going to be driving these quad bikes over the sand dunes right by the Pyramids of Giza. This should be exciting. Our guides helped us to wrap our heads with the scarves. We had to protect our eyes and our mouth and our nose because when you're riding out there in the sand dunes, there's a lot of blowing sand and you're kicking up a lot of sand with the bikes, so you really need to be protected. I think it looks pretty mysterious, kind of cool. Guides riding with me, and oh my gosh, it was so scary. I was going so fast and he was going up these really steep hills. I thought we were gonna flip the bike, but it was exhilarating, I must say. There was a lot of people on horseback, even some camels out there, and I'm telling you, this sand dune and the view of the pyramids, it was so surreal to be out there, and you could see the city of Cairo down below. It was breathtaking. It was simply breathtaking. We had Justin and Sally's cousin Lorraine with us on the ride. And I'm telling you, Lorraine was an old pro on that quad bike. She was blasting down those sand dunes, having a great time. And we came across almost like an oasis in the middle of the desert. I believe these sand dunes are part of the Sahara, if I'm not mistaken. But the guides take you to a little place where you can get refreshment, and it's just a beautiful little oasis in the middle of all that sand, because as far as your eye can see, all you're seeing is sand. And thank goodness it wasn't too windy that day, so the sand wasn't too bad.
How you doing? Is Jessica back there?
I just wanted you to be able to see what I'm eating.
Yeah. You have the lamb?
Look at the lamb chops. Sally has the chicken kebabs.
I finished my macaroni here.
See? Sharif just had his pasta with bechamel sauce.
Yeah,
And
but-
look at that. Oh, it's almost done, but those are stuffed vegetables. I think it's a zucchini, stuffed zucchini. So I hope you're having a nice dinner.
On the last night of the riverboat cruise, we dressed up in our traditional tunic type dress called a galabea. These are nicely decorated, fancy ones. And they kind of had a special type of dinner with music and entertainment on the last night of our riverboat cruise. It was really nice.
Cruising the Nile. Isn't that wonderful? We're on a cruise. This is the view from our balcony. As we're cruising the Nile to the men in the fisher boat.
Look over there, the big one, the new one. This is the high dam, the big one. You visit tomorrow. This is last one city. This is last one. Last one big city like
Small,
that.
like Cairo, it's small.
Yeah, it's about 1 million and a half.
Okay.
All last one.
Okay. Okay. And how much is Cairo?
Cairo about 25 million.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Whoa, that's a lot of people.
Yeah. The big city in Egypt, Cairo, and the second, Alexandria.
Yeah.
So this is what our cabin looked like on the riverboat. It was very comfortable. It had a balcony. I really liked the decor of this room. It was a little bit dated, I would say, but it was very charming. A lot of wood paneling, and it was very comfortable, like I said. The boat cruise was very nice. It was peaceful. The food was good. The atmosphere was good. There was a little tuck shop, a gift shop on the boat in case you forgot anything. And it departed every morning from port very early, because in order to tour all the different ruins and the Valley of the Kings, you had to get up very early, because by noon the sun was blazing hot. So every evening when we docked at a port, mind you, there were several other ships, riverboat, I shouldn't call them ships, riverboats docked right beside us. So you were basically looking into the window of the other ship that was right beside you. But for the most part, it was a comfortable ride, and I would do it again. Now, this restaurant was so good. The food was amazing. The feta cheese and olives. I love olives. Along with the olive oil and the fresh baked bread. And you were right on the Nile, so the atmosphere was beautiful. We were here at sunset, so the scenery was nice. They had shisha there. Lorraine and Jessica partaken in the shisha. It wasn't for me, but it smelled nice. It was quite fruity. But the food in Egypt, amazing. The way that they season the meats and the fresh vegetables, very good. And the price points, excellent, excellent.
like Turkish coffee. Look at this. Wow. See, he's pouring it for me.
Ahmad is served with Turkish coffee. But it's a special one.
Special, that's right.
Special one.
Welcome.
Shukran, Mohammed.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, my friend.
Look at
Enjoy.
that.
There's two temples
This is the Temple of Philae in Aswan in Egypt. Look at this.
This area became like a lake. Well, not big, a small lake, but that small lake was big enough, like high enough to cover this.
So this was a temple in Aswan, and it was crawling with what I call the bakshish man. Now, some of them are a little bit aggressive, like I've said, and you have to really be careful. We were posing for a picture and they just kind of inserted themselves. Mind you, the picture looks great, but then you're expected to give them a little bakshish, a little tip, and they're very helpful. And you wouldn't believe what happened to me. I had dropped a scarf and a little keychain thing that had a few dollars in it, and he came and found me and gave it back to me. So that was amazing. He didn't have to do that. So not all of them are aggressive and are trying to scam you. They're actually very polite, and if you say no thank you, or you just don't answer, a lot of them aren't. They're older gentlemen and they were very pleasant. And it made this experience really nice. And I'm so grateful that he gave me back my scarf and my little keychain, because I like those things.
This is the Temple of Feluca. This temple was built for the goddess Isis and her husband Osiris. This is all as an ode to Isis.
So I just want to say shukran, or thank you, to my little Habibi, Jessica, my daughter, and Habibi means my beloved. So my little Habibi, Jessica, because this trip was a once in a lifetime for the two of us. And I'm so glad that we decided to do it because we had a blast. Egypt will forever hold some wonderful memories for me. And I would go back. And there's so much more of Egypt that I still have yet to see. And I would definitely go back. And I would encourage anybody to go back. Not everything is pretty, but there's enough good experience there that it outweighs the bad. So, yalla yalla, everybody. Yalla yalla means get up and go, get up and go. Yalla, and go to Egypt and experience all the wonders that we experienced. This is deep in one of the tombs at the Valley of the Kings. Mind you, it gets pretty hot in there because you're going down pretty deep underground. And you have to wonder, how did they get to do all these wonderful drawings on the walls and ceilings of these tombs? They didn't have electricity. Apparently, they used mirrors and reflection off the sun to light deep into these tombs. Just fascinating. The Egyptians were ahead of their time, clearly.
Beautiful. I really like this one. Bakshish.
The temple looks modern today. By the way, if you look at the front and you see, it looks like a pyramid mountain there. That's the mountain of the Valley of the Kings. So what we did now, we just drove like in a U-later to come to this temple here. The Valley of the Kings is the other side of this mountain.
So I want to say thank you or shukran to all of you who stuck around and watched my Egyptian adventures.
Jessica always getting the kids.
And thank you all who gave me a thumbs up, because the YouTube algorithm likes that sort of thing. And I just want to say salam, bye, assalamu alaikum, bye bye, and I'll catch you on the next one.
Everybody say hi.